If we go back in time a little bit, back to 2006, the expected page web load times were around 4 seconds, and I think that's extremely generous time there. But users didn't have as high of expectations back, about seven years or so. And as time progressed, and as their hardware got faster and their connections got faster, the backend infrastructure got faster, they began to expect faster load times. So 4 years ago it was 2 seconds, and just as recently as last year, the polling data showed 1 second. And I would even almost argue with that when I see 1 second delay times, if that's on every single page, I sometimes get a little bit frustrated with that if it's on every single page. So we know that user expectations are increasing. The page load time expectations are decreasing. What we've also found is that most firms don't measure performance adequately, especially from the end user standpoint. Now, I'm not saying that firms don't measure or monitor their infrastructure. Most do, but they're not monitoring from the end user standpoint or the end user perspective, because they're looking at it from an infrastructure. So my database is okay, my application server is performing well, my web server seem to be okay, but all of those metrics indicate that your infrastructure is okay, not that your delivery of service is what the end users are expecting. And that's really where EUEM comes into play, is to start measuring the end user, the level of service that you guys are providing to your end user. And what we found is when we do put those out there, we go back pre-2006 numbers. Average web load page time is 6 seconds. And that's just really unacceptable from an end user standpoint. So how much are web problems costing? If something goes down, most IT departments can find that pretty quickly. A database crashes, a network device goes out. So those things throw errors, or you can point to those in maybe logs or not accessible paths through the environment. So you can usually resolve that very quickly. The problem with web applications is that in many cases, the end users, they're not reporting it. They're just going somewhere else. Or it becomes a very bad problem before someone actually calls in and reports it. So how many people didn't report it? And it's very difficult to pin down and determine what is the cause of that bottleneck. Is it inside our four walls, or is it outside? Is it is it everybody that's coming across through a specific ISP or using a specific browser, or when they hit a specific page, that's when everything goes haywire? It's very difficult to begin to determine. And so what we want to do is help to really shrink that time down from 25% of the known issues. That's when a user calls in. Shrink that time from a 24-hour resolution turnaround to just a few minutes, or at the very worst, just a few hours, and reduce the number of people that have to be involved in that. I was a production Oracle DBA at Compact Computers before I came to BMC, and we would have these war rooms where we would, when a performance issue would creep up on one of our applications, we would get the DBAs, the sysadmins, the application folks, the backup folks. We would get everybody in a room, and we would all say, well, it's not my stuff. My tools tell me I'm okay. My database looks good. My server looks good. My application, because we were monitoring those IT infrastructure things, and everything looked good there, but yet the end user was not able to get the data. And so that, again, increased the time to resolution. So what we want to help with EUEM, the End User Experience Management, what we want to do is to be able to monitor the users, any of your users coming from any path, so any location, and then manage that from any number of different places. So capturing all of the web traffic that's coming in, no matter where they're coming from, and being able to manage that from a diverse or varied location. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing that we do is it's focused on response time. And if you look down at the bottom where that that red dot kind of drops down, we use a passive network sniffer. And what I mean by passive is that it is not in the critical path. You direct your span traffic or mirror the span port over to our collector. And you can have multiple collectors in your environment, so you're not limited to just one. So you get that network traffic, and that's where we capture all the traffic. We capture all of those packets and then put those into a cohesive transaction and a session for an end user, so that when the IT professional goes in to investigate what's going on in the environment, they're not looking at a bunch of packets. They're looking at a user executing a transaction, flowing through the website, hitting these pages in this order, and here are the individual metrics on each page corresponding to a number of different things that we've captured out of the packets. In addition, we offer the ability to do this not just, now this slide has a little bit additional products out here, so it's got one additional product out here, but we offer an on-prem scenario, our solution, and then we offer a SaaS solution. Either way, you still have a collector in your environment, so that collector is still going to be present. What happens is we offload all of the analytics and all of the number crunching and all of that type of stuff offline, and we house that. And what you see here is there's an application diagnostics piece. That is a piece of an offering that BMC has that allows you to take it end user monitoring one step further. So rather than just monitor the end user traffic, which is what we're focused on today, and that's what we'll look at, you have the ability to dive deeper into a transaction to actually see the hops that it took throughout the infrastructure. So I came in through this web server, I hopped over to this application server, we did a database call, and then we did a redirect into maybe even an external website. How long did each one of those hops take? And so that is an add-on that you can extend the offering from an end-user monitoring perspective. But today we're going to be focused strictly on this piece right here, the EUEM component. One last thing, and we'll jump into the demo, is that not only, I've been mentioning infrastructure monitoring and infrastructure management, and most companies do that. And we have an offering that does that as well. It's called BMC Proactive Performance Management. End-user experience management takes it a different approach. So we're not monitoring just the widgets. That's done with a different solution. We're monitoring the end-user experience. This is what we refer to a lot of times as the canary in the coal mine. When the end user starts to slow down, that's when I need to jump into action. And that's what EUEM helps me to do. It helps me to go out and dive deep and start to get all of this information and see if we can pinpoint it and say, hey, that's the end user having a problem because they're using the wrong web browser, they're coming in from a specific ISP, or because this page is not correctly formatted. But in some cases, it is back-end infrastructure. And so we allow you to tie this solution in, the end-user monitoring, with your infrastructure monitoring. And so you can combine and get the best of both worlds. And so you're not saying, I want to do one or the other, but if I choose to, I can do both. And that's really what we want to emphasize right here. All right, so with that, we're going to jump into the demo and see the product in action. So what I want to start with is our global delivery dashboard. Now, this global delivery dashboard is what you see, typically the first thing the customer sees when they come into the solution, when they stand it up. This is not something that they have to develop. By default, this will get created whenever the traffic starts to come in. So as the traffic begins to roll in, it will begin to regionalize that traffic based off of states. And so you'll see, and here in the United States, we have the United States and Canada, we will regionalize by state or by province. If you get outside the United States, then we'll regionalize by country code. And that's, again, done automatically by the solution. So as they come in, now we'll determine, here is the volume. So you'll see the size of the circle. The bigger the circle, the greater the number of pages or requests that are coming in, and then the color of the circle will indicate the status of the worst 10% of the users. Now, these are over 5-minute intervals, and if you look down here at the bottom, you see the previous 5 minutes versus the current 5 minutes. And so you see the District of Columbia, they went from a red as frustrated state to a satisfied state. North Carolina is remaining pretty consistent at a tolerating state, and Indiana has just moved from a good state into a frustrated state. Now, what we can do here is I can mouse over and click on any one of these, and this will give me information about that particular state. So over the last 5 minutes, we've had 61 requests come in. The worst 10% are running at about 3.5 seconds per page load, which puts them into the tolerating state, the yellow state. Now, these are out-of-the-box thresholds, so we have 2 seconds is tolerating, 5 seconds is frustrated. You can adjust these as necessary. And when I want to start to drill down and get more information, I just simply go into the drill down button, which then gathers up all of those pages that have been requested and then presents those out here in this table format. And I can see the page names. I can see if we're using Akamai. We can also trace through that. We have plugins and integrations into Akamai, so we can pull that information. We see any errors that have come across, so network errors, client, server, application, content, and custom errors. And I can sort by any one of these. These are all hot sortable. I got information about the page time and where we're spending the time. So if I want to drill down and get it into a kind of a table format, I can see over here this is where we're spending our latency. So redirect versus maybe network latency. When it started, this transaction actually hasn't ended yet. And I can also see that in a graph format. Now I'm going to go ahead and sort by end-to-end latency here. We'll get these are the slowest sessions that have been coming through. So these are the pages, I apologize, not sessions. These are the pages that are taking the longest amount of time. So as I drill down here, I can now go out and find the specifics on those pages. As we're coming through, there's some information that we'll pull out automatically. So the geographic information is things like what state, what city, metro area, the ISP that they're coming in through. And that could be important to determine everybody that's coming in and they're having performance issues are all coming in from a common ISP. It could be outside of our four walls. It could be a problem with the ISP. So now you're starting to quickly eliminate some of those problems inside your four walls. We also come out here and grab fields that some are populated and then some are things that we can extract as things get populated into the packet. So some of the things that we grab out of the packet is the client browser. So what browser type are they utilizing? What operating system are they coming in from? The page name that they're hitting. And then I can see the different hosts or URIs that are being accessed. Up here at the top, this gives me information like the kbytes per second, the round trip return time. So this is basically how long is it taking them to get to my site and get back. So if you're seeing very long round trip times, then that could indicate, again, a problem that's outside of your four walls. And as we drill down further, we can then find information about the server that hosted this. So which application server are we coming into? And again, grabbing the same type of information. So I get information about the server itself, any referrers that were coming in. So where did it come from? Where did it go from here?